Marlene Amari's story began not with love, but with longing, a deep ache forged in the furnace of a broken home. Her mother, Agnes Amari, was a hard woman. Life had made her so. Abandoned by her husband when Marlene was just 4, Agnes worked herself hard as a roadside tailor, stitching school uniforms by candlelight. Her back was bent, her eyes tired, but her mouth sharp. She used to say, "Men will promise you heaven, but leave you in hell. Your only escape is your own beauty and your brains." Marlene absorbed those lessons young. She took them to heart. At St. Mary's Grammar School, she stood out. Not just because of her growing curves or honey-toned skin, but because of her confidence, a kind not taught in books. Teachers complained that she was too bold. Parents warned their sons to stay away from her. But the boys didn't listen. They drilled and fought over her. By 15, Marlene had a secret, a dark one. Mr. Jonathan, her chemistry teacher, had been the first to slip her notes during lessons. He pestered her with love proposal. By 16, she was sneaking out to meet him behind the school chapel. He gave her cash, a gold necklace, and whispered that she was too smart to live like the others. She believed him, until his wife showed up at the school, screaming. The scandal nearly cost Marlene her education, but she was calm even as they questioned her. She told them, "I didn't ask him to come to me, he's the adult, not me." She was transferred, but not before the whispers followed her home. Her mother didn't punish her. She simply said, "Good. Let them know your value." She encouraged her with her words and actions. That same year, Marlene met Uncle Chucks. He wasn't really her uncle, just a family friend, a wealthy importer with 3 kids and a taste for younger women. He bought Marlene her first iPhone, funded her beauty treatments, and promised to sponsor her university education. In exchange, she became his weekend secret. He made her feel adored, not loved, but chosen. When he held her, she saw a path out of poverty. When he left her crumpled in hotel beds, she stared at the ceiling and told herself, one day, she will be rich enough that they will beg for her attention. But even Uncle Chucks had a wife. Her name was Lydia. She was not having any sweetness in her marriage. Her husband regularly slept outside the house and rarely paid attention to her. She always suspected he was having extramarital affairs, so she did investigations and found out the truth. It was raining that day, the day she visited Marlene, a light drizzle that soaked the unpaved roads of their compound. Marlene was inside, straightening her wig, humming to herself. Then, a knock. She opened the door and saw her. Lydia stood in a yellow wrapper and a silk scarf, her eyes hollow with nights of sleepless anger. "I know who you are," she said quietly. "You ruined my marriage. My children cry at night. My husband sleeps elsewhere." Marlene stared. She'd never seen the woman up close. "You think you're special because men give you things?" Lydia asked, trembling. "You are a shadow. You take love, but you never keep it." Marlene rolled her eyes. Then Lydia said the curse words. "You will know the love of many men, but none will stay. You will rise, but your heart will rot in silence." And just like that, she turned and walked away. Marlene grew up to become a successful CEO of a prestigious company. And then she met Kelechi. 3 months into their relationship, Kelechi moved into Marlene's Banana Island penthouse. He was perfect, too perfect. Breakfast in bed. Morning affirmations. Lavender candles after long work days. He seemed custom-built to fill every gap in her emotional defenses. But then came the late-night calls he wouldn't take. The text messages he deleted too quickly. Once, Marlene found a single earring behind the couch, not hers. He laughed and said it was probably her assistant's earring, as she was there earlier on with the caterers. Marlene wanted to believe him. But something in her heart said otherwise. Ngozi, Marlene's friend and longtime confidant, had seen it all. My dear friend, she said over wine one night, this man, he's charming, yes. But you're building your life around someone who hasn't built his own. Marlene frowned and said he was ambitious and talented. Ngozi leaned forward and said, I know talent. I know ambition. But I also know users. I grew up with brothers who made women believe in dreams just to spend their money. Marlene stiffened and said, he's not like that. Ngozi sighed and said she hoped she was wrong. But unsurprisingly she wasn't. The gifts he usually gave started slowing down. The affection became routine. He stopped opening doors, forgot her favorite wine, and his apologies became passive-aggressive. When her mother visited, she pulled Marlene aside and said, that boy's eyes, they are too restless. He smiles with his mouth, not his soul. Still, Marlene defended him. She said they have all been broken, maybe he just needs someone who won't give up on him. Her mother simply shook her head. You're not his rehab, Marlene. You're his reward, but he treats you like a rescue mission. In a humble bungalow in Ogba, Lydia lived alone with her cats and her Bible. She was once a music teacher, soft-spoken and brilliant. She had married young, to Chucks, believing in forever. When Marlene entered the picture, Lydia was pregnant with their second child. At first, she thought it was a phase. Then came the ATM withdrawals, the lipstick stains, the perfume. Then came the confrontation. She's just a girl, she told Chucks. She'll go away. But she didn't. Instead, Marlene became a fixture in their lives. Lydia had to watch her husband buy the girl jewelry while she begged him for baby formula. The night Chucks finally left, for good, Lydia fell to her knees in the living room. She didn't scream. She wept. Then she stood and walked into the night. She found Marlene. Spoke the curse, and for years, she regretted it, but by then, the damage had been done. Marlene gave Kelechi what no man before him had received, her professional trust. She handed him control of a new subsidiary, Amari Digital Ventures. A sleek, promising startup focused on tech solutions in logistics. The company launched with fanfare, cameras, banners, even an endorsement from the Minister of Innovation. Kelechi was golden. He became untouchable, and then came Gina, a 28-year-old former intern with a sharp taste and curves. She dressed like weapons. Marlene had once admired her ambition. But she didn't see the storm coming. Kelechi and Gina started working late. Very late. Brainstorming for new projects, that's what they always told her. Marlene asked questions, and each time Kelechi kissed her and made delicious breakfast the next morning. The doubts always faded afterwards. Until that fateful night. It was 2:13 a.m. Marlene was doing routine budget checks when she noticed an unusual file folder labeled client transfers on Kelechi's cloud account. It wasn't locked. She opened it. Inside were WhatsApp backups, banking details, screenshots of secret meetings, and worst, messages between Kelechi and Gina coupled with naked pictures and videos. In the messages, Gina was telling Kelechi they just need her to sign that last important document. Kelechi assured Gina that she always signs when he brings it at night. He said only one drop in her tea tonight, then all is done. Gina wrote that after that, she has to get her 40%. And the house in Lekki. Kelechi told Gina, "You're mine, baby. She's just the stepping stone." Marlene felt her world crumble. Every wall she'd ever built, every scar she'd ever hidden, all cracked open in that moment. But this time, she didn't cry. She called Gina to come immediately. She called the police. By dawn, Kelechi and Gina were in handcuffs. Marlene didn't confront them. She sat quietly in her office, sipping black coffee as plainclothes officers escorted them away. Gina cried and pleaded. Kelechi kept shouting, "It's a setup." She forged it. But the evidence was overwhelming and unchallengeable. The backup files, text, voice notes, financial traces, and, most damning of all, a small vial of tasteless poison found in Kelechi's small bag. The news exploded. One news headlines reported. CEO of Amari Global thwarts assassination attempt by her own partner. Another reported. Younger lover and secretary plot against billionaire businesswoman. Another one reported. Another one reported. From power to poison, the betrayal of Marlene Amari. Her stock prices wobbled but didn't fall. Her empire was too strong. But Marlene did fall, not publicly, but in spirit. Weeks passed. Her home was quiet again. Too quiet. She began waking from nightmares. Not of Kelechi, but of Lydia. The old woman's curse still rang in her ears like a bell through fog. You will rise, but your heart will rot in silence. She booked an anonymous appointment with Pastor Adebayo, a man known for spiritual warfare and deliverance. She didn't say much. Just sat down across from him in his quiet study and said, something was wrong with her. The old man studied her. You carry the weight of many hearts, he finally said. But one in particular is still crying out against you. He made her fast, whilst he also fasted for her. Prayed. Took her through a 3-day spiritual retreat. Then he asked her, do you remember a woman named Lydia? Marlene visited Lydia. Lydia hadn't seen Marlene in over 25 years. She didn't recognize her at first, the polished elegance, the quiet prominence and power. But when Marlene dropped to her knees in the living room, Lydia knew. I came to ask for your forgiveness, Marlene whispered in tears. I didn't understand what I was doing back then. But I've paid for it. In ways I can't even explain. Lydia sat, silent for a long time. Then finally said, the night she cursed her, she lost her second child. A miscarriage. She blamed her more than she blamed her husband. But in truth, she was angry at God. They cried together. Lydia placed her hands on Marlene's head. I revoke every word I spoke against you, she whispered. And I bless you with peace. And in that moment, something broke. Marlene felt it. Like a cold chain melting from her spirit. She left with nothing but a hug, and a promise to fund Lydia's music school. Which she did, anonymously. With the curse lifted and betrayal behind her, Marlene spent her last years doing what she wished someone had done for her. She established the Lydia Foundation. A non-profit organization focused on mentoring young girls vulnerable to transactional relationships. It offered counseling, scholarships, vocational training, and housing. She spoke publicly for the first time at 60. She said, I lived in glass palaces, but I slept with a shattered spirit. If I can save even one girl from my path, it will be worth the pain. She built schools in rural towns, sponsored widows' businesses, and turned down multiple proposals from wealthy men who came crawling after the scandal died. She never accepted another relationship, not because she was bitter, but because her love now belonged to healing others. Marlene passed away in her sleep at the age of 78. She had no husband beside her, but she had loved many. Her mansion was filled with mourners, young women whose lives she changed, staff who stayed with her for decades, executives who revered her leadership. She was buried in a private ceremony under a big tree in her compound, her favorite place, with these words etched on her tombstone: she rose from shadows. She lived in light. After her funeral, Ngozi, her trusted friend, found Marlene's journal. In it was a final entry which read, I was once the storm in someone's life. Then life stormed through mine. Maybe that was justice. Maybe that was redemption. But in the end, I found peace. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.